How ought Christians engage in the important cultural conversations of our time? It was a while ago that I was working near a group of students from another class in my school. They were discussing a blog post titled, "Why We Should Legalize Murder for Hire." Initially, some students were horrified at the suggestion that hitmen could provide a valuable service to society by helping women deal with unwanted marriages. But they quickly understood that they were dealing with satire. Their appreciation of the author's wit was evidenced by their giggles and their parenthetic comments to each other. Students could see that the author had created a parallel between killing one's spouse and killing one's unborn child. If one is wrong, why isn't the other? The students commended the cleverness of Child's analogy when she said that matrimony severely curtails a woman's freedom, and it is her marriage, only she can decide when it must end. One student pointed out that Childs correlates adoption to divorce when she says the latter may be an attractive alternative to murder, but some women do not have the emotional and financial resources to go through a divorce. Again, there was some delight in this piece of the analogy. The students' initial reaction to this article was positive, at least the ones I talked to. I was curious about where this was going, so I followed the students back to their classroom to see what was going to happen in the debrief. The students summarized their discussions, but then the teacher asked, "How would you take this if you were pro-choice?" A student said, "I'd be mad." They unpacked that for a bit, and it wasn't very long until one student used the word fallacy. Then they all started talking between each other all at once. Stacked evidence? Not quite. Faulty analogy? Yeah, that fits. When the teacher brought everyone back to the discussion, the students suggested that this argument is only effective if someone accepts the premise that the fetus was comparable to a husband. They said that someone who is pro-choice would not accept that premise. They concluded that if your audience was pro-life, Child's argument was effective, but if it was pro-choice, the argument would be ineffective. So the important question is this: who is the audience? Since this article was originally posted on a website whose target audience is conservative to moderate Christians, we can assume that this is the target audience for the article as well. If this assumption is correct, the effect of this article is simply to reinforce the views to which the audience already holds. In other words, it's preaching to the choir. The students observed this as well. They said that the main effect of the article was to reinforce the view of those who agreed that our society celebrates the murder of family members. Several students argued that this in itself isn't wrong, but they had a little trouble with the tone because it felt as if it was mocking, and therefore it would simultaneously alienate opponents and inflame the passions of supporters. And they didn't figure that either of these was very helpful. They wondered that if you get the two sides all riled up, you won't get anywhere. The teacher then asked, "So how ought Christians engage the important cultural conversations like this one?" I had to get back to my marking, so I never heard the answer to this important question. Thank you, and we'll see you next time.